So welcome to this webinar. We'll just do a quick introduction of ourselves. So I'm Jennifer Johnson. I'm a current PhD student here at WSU, and like Mary, I'm an adventure facilitator with the WSU Outdoor Recreation Center, which is where this Leave No Trace content is coming to you from.
And I'm Mary. I'm an undergraduate student here studying environmental science, and I'm also an adventure facilitator with Jen.
So Leave No Trace is a concept, there we go, it's been developing for actually a few decades now, but it's part of the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics is what it's called. And it really just teaches people to enjoy the outdoors, but at the same time to act responsibly. It's this mission that reaches millions of people through education, research, partnerships, and there's also a lot of volunteer opportunities that we'll discuss towards the end of the presentation. And so just something to kind of get us started. In this webinar, there's a chat function. And so if you could all enter just your name so we know who's joining us today, and describe a natural place that's really special to you. So I can share mine. I grew up in Arizona, but my grandparents actually ran a visitor center in southern Utah. And so that became somewhere that we went to every summer. We still go to almost every summer. But I can tell you that just as it's becoming more popular of a place, that it's changed a lot. And Leave No Trace is something that I would like a lot more people to know about to ensure that it stays natural and special to me as well as everyone else who visits it.
Yeah, for me, I grew up in upstate New York, so I went to the Adirondack State Park a lot, like all throughout my childhood. And I really love to embrace the Leave No Trace principles because that kind of place growing up was so pristine, and like there were so many little lakes and things that were just virtually looked untouched. And I just want that to be how it is for generations to come. So I'm pretty passionate about this.
And so when we're thinking about these special places, whether it's special to you, also know that anywhere you visit, any natural place, and all the places that we don't visit are special to someone. And so the idea behind Leave No Trace is to ensure that they stay natural, that they stay clean, so they're enjoyable for anyone who visits those areas. And so just a quick kind of history of Leave No Trace and the center that now runs this. There's a bunch of information online that we'll go over, but it actually started following the passage of the Wilderness Act in the mid-60s. So it's been around for a while, this idea, but it's taken a lot of forms. So in the 70s, there was a big environmental movement, especially in regards to education and preserving the outdoors. And so there were brochures put together with little national leadership or any like coordination. There were a lot of names that were going about this Wilderness Matters, Wilderness Ethics, Minimum Impact Camping, or No Trace Camping. But as it gained ground, it gained support in the 1980s. The No Trace program was actually developed by the National Forest Service. Perfect, another person. Falls, Oregon, love it. And then finally, Leave No Trace was actually selected as the name in the 90s, and a partnership formed between the 4 land management agencies and what's called NOLS, the National Outdoor Leadership School. And in '93, there was a big summit in DC. They recommended the creation of this nonprofit that currently runs it. It's in Boulder, Colorado, is the national headquarters, but you can find centers actually all over the country. And they've developed guides and educational resources. They have many partnerships around the nation, and they have plenty of opportunities to get involved that we'll talk about.
So today, Leave No Trace since 2003 has become a part of the Center for Outdoor Ethics. The center partners with really big land management agencies throughout the country, outdoor equipment manufacturers, retailers, guide services, youth organizations, nonprofit organizations, and educational institutions to promote the minimum impact outdoor recreation. The center has 11 staff members in Boulder and 3 teams of traveling educators that will go around the country. The strategic priorities is front country, kids, and local. The organization has a current focus on these areas in order to reach new and emerging audiences. And the organizational focus is on people as a solution to recreation-related impacts. Empowering people to develop a sense of communal ownership of the outdoors generates a more sustainable, more environmentally educated global community overall. So more of the focus is to educate, connect, and protect. We educate people about minimum impact skills and responsible outdoor recreation, connect people to their natural world so that they care about its future health, and protect ecosystems by creating lifelong outdoor stewards. Approximately 80 cents of every dollar raised by the center directly supports programs that train and educate millions each year and develop these connections. So earlier I mentioned that they have these federal agency partners. So the Center for Outdoor Ethics is under a memorandum of understanding with the 5 largest land management agencies in the U.S. to provide Leave No Trace education on public lands. So each of these agencies have Leave No Trace trained staff who train other agency personnel and the general public. The federal agencies have national Leave No Trace coordinators who serve as non-voting advisors on the center's board of directors and the Education Review Committee. And they play a critical role in providing Leave No Trace information to millions of outdoor enthusiasts each year. So some of these partnerships are the U.S. Forest Service that gets 180 million visits per year, the Bureau of Land Management, which gets 60 million visits per year, National Park Service with 280 million visitors per year, and the Fish and Wildlife Service with 40 million, and the Army Corps with 335 million visits per year. So there's a lot of impact with using these government agencies.
And so why all this is important, right? So this idea of Leave No Trace, like we said, it's been developing for decades, but it's becoming more and more important as these natural places are becoming more and more special, right? That they're getting more and more visitors each year, which is great, right? We want people to develop these connections to natural places. But at the same time, we need to make sure that they understand their responsibility to the lands that they visit. And so as Mary just stated, all those millions of people that are visiting these areas, right? Each year, we're getting more and more. And as a result, there's various impacts that we have on these natural areas. These impacts include direct impacts to the environment, right? So to the soil, we lose organic matter, compaction, there's erosion, right? That then has long-term impacts on vegetation in the area, which leads to vegetation loss. All these visitors often, if you're doing water recreation, we can bring invasive species. And then depending on the activities, you can see a lot of tree damage to some of these areas that are visited by millions of people. There's also impacts to wildlife. So even though they're all cute and fluffy, there's this idea that wildlife should stay wild, right? And so this disturbance of people who visit these areas, when we feed them, when we change their habitat, we alter their behavior. We can actually damage their health and reproduction. And then in a result, with all those water activities that we love, we can have an impact on the water resources, right? So turbidity and sedimentation, the actual composition of the water, as well as all the waste that we could potentially be putting into these natural water sources. So like we said, with all these people coming, there's all these impacts. So not only the crowding, there's going to be conflicts between groups, right? A lot of people in a very small area sharing resources, sharing land can have issues, as well as cultural resource impacts. So theft of artifacts, this is one of the principles we'll be talking about, or even damage to these historical features that they've survived for thousands of years, but more people that are visiting these areas and causing impacts means that they might not be available for future generations. And that's really the goal of Leave No Trace, is making sure that everything we're enjoying today, our kids and our grandkids and any future generations can enjoy them as well. And so here are just some images of the impact. So we'll see signs in all the places we visit. Right behind this sign, you can see humans have gone into the area and altered it. Here is not storing our whatever we bring into the area properly. So this little bear got into some waste. We see impacts to soil and vegetation here with roads that were created, not natural. This is just debris in the campsite, more trash or waste that's left, campfires that have impacts to the areas around them. This one is, there's no reason for this, but carving onto plants Again, damaging that vegetation, leaving behind waste impacts, impacts to wildlife, to the areas themselves. Again, cute and fluffy, but they really don't need it. Your granola bars. Those lots of people, right, leaving things behind. And then something that started out natural because we want to enjoy it, which is great. We are altering that landscape to something that works better for people. And so we see these areas a lot more frequently nowadays.
So there's a lot of research that goes into Leave No Trace. There's human dimensions that tells us about visitors' perceptions, attitudes, and behaviors, and just gets us to know more about people that come to the parks and how their impacts, how their actions can impact the overall ecosystem. And there's actually a field called recreation ecology, which tells us about these recreation impacts and also how they can be reduced and managed by the managers and also visitors. So now we're going to get into talking about the 7 Leave No Trace principles. We're going to go through these and talk about them more, and as we go, you can go ahead and contribute some comments to things that come to mind as we're talking about examples that you yourself have done or that you think should be done out in the outdoors. So these are all principles, and we like to use that word rather than rules because obviously things like safety come first, and sometimes you can't always abide to all these principles, but they're just kind of a foundation, and they all build off of each other, and they're just really important to keep in mind, and as long as you are aware of them, you're making the outdoors a better place. So the first principle is plan ahead and prepare. This involves everything before you go outside. So things like looking at weather, knowing like what trails you're going on, directions, bringing proper stuff like garbage bags or whatever you need to follow the rest of the principles. That is all like really fundamental in following the rest of them because like I said, they all build off of each other. So making sure that you're planning before your trip can really reduce your impacts and prevent the possibility of needing to take from the nature to provide for yourself if you forgot something that you need.
Great. So the second one is travel and camp on durable surfaces. So when we go into the outdoors, whether it's in the winter, in the spring, summer, fall, the areas in which we are walking, which we're driving, which we're camping on, some will be more impacted than others. So in general, it's really great to hike on already existing trails, to hike single file, right? We don't want to widen those trails any more than they already are. When we're looking at campsites, to camp somewhere that's already established or on areas that are going to have less of an impact. So snow or ice obviously is great. Rocks and gravel are also preferred to, let's say, grasses or meadows. When you're camping, it's good to be at least 200 feet from water sources so we can protect those riparian areas that are more susceptible to damage and impacts. And just in general to avoid places where your impacts are just beginning, right? So if you are walking maybe between your campsite and the river, to not keep walking the same path, and so you're creating this new path, but rather to have less of an impact by varying that path each time to keep it as natural as possible.
Next, we have dispose of waste properly. This involves everything that you're doing outdoors in terms of like fecal waste and things like that. You need to prepare if you're going out into like really pristine backcountry areas. Like you need to bring either your shovel and big cat holes about 6 inches deep, and make sure you're doing that like far away from streams. And then there are also some areas where you can't dig cat holes because things need soil to decompose. So if you're up on a glacier or in a desert where there's like very little organic matter in the soil, you need to bring your own bags to do that stuff. And this sometimes can lead to people will leave these bags all over the place, and it's becoming a huge issue. So really emphasizing taking out everything that you bring and not leaving anything behind. And this will also contribute to keeping wildlife healthy and our water resources healthy. Things like trash and all that, just being prepared and having the capability of carrying that out, and understanding that when you go out in the backcountry, that you have that kind of responsibility that, yeah, it's extra weight to carry your trash out, but it's just something that you need to do. You don't want to go into one of your favorite areas and see a bunch of trash everywhere. That never feels good to see.
Yeah, the good saying for that one is pack it in, pack it out. Or whatever you're taking into an area with you, you're also taking out with you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is called Leave What You Find. And this is the idea of preserving the past, right? So we go to these areas that have great history with them. You can see perhaps artifacts, you can see paintings, whatever it might be. But the idea is to examine but never touch these cultural or historical sites and artifacts. Again, the main component behind Leave No Trace is making sure that future generations have the same access and have the same enjoyment from these areas we're visiting today. And so Leave What You Find is talking about leaving the rocks, leaving the plants, leaving any natural objects as you find them. So if you go to a campsite, you don't pull over these logs and make a bench or create a table or anything like that, right? You're leaving what you're finding, you're using what's available. This is also where avoid introducing any non-native species or invasive species, no transporting of invasive species. This falls under this principle. And then also in terms of like actually establishing campsites, there is safety, but trying to avoid digging something like a trench or something that's going to leave a lasting impact, if at all possible, is a big part of this one.
Yeah, and also it's hard to remember sometimes, like if you find something really cool or beautiful in nature, a lot of people will take that and put it on their shelf or something, but it usually will just collect with all your stuff, and you're preventing all these other people from being able to see it and appreciate that natural beauty. So the next one is minimizing campfire impacts. This one you want to be extra careful of when you are in the backcountry. Definitely stick to areas that are already established campfire rings. Obviously, this excludes like emergency situations, but if you really need those emergency situations, there's ways to build fires with minimal impact, and by really making sure that it's being done safely and that it's being put out all the way before going to bed. And it can be one of the most damaging things of all of these if you are irresponsible about fire. And yeah, it can really have an impact on wildlife and everything if you're just burning things and not keeping it maintained.
This one also kind of can attach to Leave What You Find, right? So you're not breaking off branches from trees that are still growing. If you do grab wood, take it from the ground. And it's even better to bring your own so you're not taking resources from the areas around you. So I think we're on 5. Our 5th one is the respect of wildlife. So we saw some images where this is in play, but wildlife is supposed to stay wild. And so we can observe it from a distance, but try not to follow or approach for their safety as well as your own. Never feed the animals, right? They have their own nutritional habits. So any new foods can actually damage their health, and changing that diet can be really detrimental to the area. So keeping it natural for them, protecting them from your own food, because yes, they're going to smell it and they're going to want it. So making sure you're storing rations very securely. Any trash is being kept in either like bear bins, something that they can't get into, or vehicles is even better. If you do bring a pet, this is where it falls in. So making sure your pets are always on leashes, because they're probably going to want to chase that squirrel or that deer, which then is changing their natural environment. So controlling your pets at all times. I mean, leaving them at home is always the best option, but I understand wanting to take them with you. So just making sure they're always on a leash, and avoiding wildlife during sensitive times is the last part. So during breeding seasons, making sure you're leaving them alone. Same with like mating, nesting, if they're raising their young. Those are really specific times that wildlife are developing these habits, and they're more sensitive to these impacts. So just that's part of planning ahead. That first principle is making sure you know when these seasons are, and being really respectful of that.
If you're following all of the principles up to this point, chances are you will be respecting wildlife.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So the last one is to be considerate of other visitors. And again, if you're following all these other things, you'll likely be doing this. But this kind of emphasizes being, when you're in areas where there's lots of campsites around and a lot of other people trying to enjoy the area, just to be respectful of that and quiet, and like not having crazy loud conversations in the middle of the night, and having and leaving, again, this leads into leaving things clean for the next person because there's other people visiting in all these places. And this one just kind of ensures that everyone's having a good time outdoors and you're looking out for each other and not stepping on anybody's ability to enjoy the outdoors for themselves. So those are all the principles. Here's just more pictures of people not leaving how they found it. It's really no reason to do this, and it can cause some. It's just not nice, not nice to see when you're trying to enjoy the pristine nature. And here's more pictures of like not minimizing campfire impact. We've got like ashy things like coming out of the fire pit. It's not a defined fire ring. There's trash everywhere. This wouldn't be a nice thing to come to if you're coming to your favorite campsite and you saw this.
And so part of this organization of Leave No Trace, they just kind of put this challenge out to anyone who wants to take the time to enjoy these natural areas. So the Leave No Trace challenge, as they state, is to prevent avoidable resource and social impacts, minimize unavoidable impacts, and then preserve the quality of resources and recreation experiences. So it's everything we've been talking about. It's just leaving it as you find it, or even in better shape. If you're out and about and you see something that is not following these 7 principles, it's best to try to correct it right yourself. So if you see little pieces of trash, micro trash, to pick it up, take it out with you. If you see someone who is like blasting their music, you can politely go up and explain the reasons that's not great to either other visitors or to wildlife, and changing that. And so there are ways to approach this and try to leave the place better than you found it. And so these are some of the programs that are offered by Leave No Trace. The first one is called PEAK. And so this stands for Promoting Environmental Awareness in Kids. And so this is one of their big educational programs. It's actually presented as a pack of 6 activities. And then there are additional activities for teens, and there's also other languages available. It can be purchased through the center that I believe the website is going to be shown at the end. And it's also available through Packing the Peak grant. And there's a bunch of downloadable activities. There's videos, there's hands-on things. There's actually an online collection of like these interactive web-based activities. And these can really help kids learn to leave no trace, and educating kids who are just starting their adventures out in the natural areas they're visiting. It's great to teach them these young. And this is one of the packs that really enables them to understand these 7 principles. Another program that Leave No Trace offers is called the Traveling Trainer Program. And so this is actually supported by Subaru, and it provides support and vehicles for this partnership. It began in 1999, and it's allowed the Leave No Trace Center to reach out to millions of individuals. It's a hands-on approach, and it's actually considered to be one of the most effective ways to engage the public. So if you have a group, whether it's you and your colleagues, family, friends, whatever it might be, you can reach out to the center, and they can actually send experts to give talks, to do interactive activities with whatever group you feel needs it. And it's gotten really good reviews, and it's, again, one of those most effective ones. Then there's the State Advocate Program, and so this is actually occurring in over 48 states. It's expanded quite a bit over the years, and so advocates are volunteers in their respective states who help coordinate and conduct these Leave No Trace trainings. Whether it's outreach and education, it can be, again, with any group that seeks some kind of training program. So the advocates receive the training, the materials, and financial support from the center. And again, this reaches thousands of people annually. It's another option for trying to spread the knowledge of Leave No Trace. Then there's the Front Country program. So compared to Backcountry, which is usually you're not close to hospitals or resources, you're on your own. Front country is one of the more common ways to enjoy the outdoors. And so it's defined as an outdoor areas that are easily accessible by vehicle and mostly visited by day users. And so 85% of outdoor recreation actually happens in front country. So when you go to these national parks, these national forests, it tends to be these front country. And so the center is working with a lot of their partners across the US to develop programs that can help protect these resources that are most visited. And again, it's reaching a lot of individuals. So if you are visiting these areas, if you know you're going to be doing a front country exhibit or a trip, and you want some more information, there's this front country program that has specifics to those who are enjoying these areas. And then international programs. So this is actually one of their newer ones, but the center has an international branch organizations that are in Canada, New Zealand, Ireland, and Australia. And then they have 60 partner organizations, agencies, and educational institutions around the world. And so this Leave No Trace Center, their staff offer this master educator course and other training options to the international community. So if you know people or know of colleagues or others who are in these other countries, they can also have access to the Leave No Trace Center.
So there's a 3-tiered training structure to leave if you want to get more information about Leave No Trace and kind of become involved in this training. There's training options all over the country. So the first level is just awareness workshops. These are 30 minutes to full day introductory workshops that just introduce people to the concept of Leave No Trace. It's designed for the general public, and this has millions of people worldwide have been trained in just leave no trace awareness. It's a really good thing to do. Like, we do them on our outdoor rec center trips. Every time we have an overnight trip, we'll try to get everybody there awareness trained. And then there's the next level, which is the trainer course, and this is a 2-day field course resulting in a certification. This is taught by master educators, and there's currently over 28,000 trainers. And then the next level is the master educator course, and this is an intensive 5-day field-oriented course offered by one of the center's course providers in various regions of the country, and there's currently 6,000 master educators worldwide. There's also quite a bit of involvement in social media. There's over 80,000 followers in Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I don't really know what this is. Blogs. So that's great to get people involved that way, because you can learn about all these things over social media as well, and kind of that contributes to that connection that people make, and kind of holding people accountable. There's also publications and materials. There's these little cards that you can take with you for teaching people skills and ethics booklets. There's lesson plans, 101 ways to teach Leave No Trace, which is great for if you're in a setting where you're teaching kids or just large groups and trying to teach awareness. There's brochures and the peak pack that we talked about earlier. A lot of these resources are available in different languages and on the online store or by calling the center.
And so ways to get involved. So there's been a lot of information. There's a lot, like we said, there's a lot of resources out there. But the easiest way is just to join, right? So Leave No Trace, become a member or a partner of the center to practice. So every day, whether you're just in your neighborhood park or you're actually going to vacation to these larger areas, to practice these Leave No Trace principles when you're outside. To visit the website and educate yourself. So it's really simple. It's a great website. There's a bunch of resources. They break everything down for you. And so just take some time to read through some of that. Spread the word. So tell others about Leave No Trace. Like I said, it's been growing quite a bit, and more people are becoming aware of it, but it'd be great if everyone was, as everyone is visiting these areas that are special to someone. Take one of those courses. So just that basic level of awareness, you can get a small certification in that, and it can help you to educate others and to make sure you're practicing it appropriately when you're outside. One of my favorites, and I think most important, is educating the next generation. So introduce a kid to Leave No Trace. You can use that Peak online tool or any other tool you find works for you or you think is really helpful. And then finally, just simply put, enjoy the outdoors responsibly. So we love that the outdoors is becoming more and more popular, right? More and more people want to visit these national parks and these natural areas, but we need to ensure it's done responsibly so that, like we said, those future generations can enjoy them as well. And so here's just, that pristine, beautiful picture that we would like to keep as is. So Leave No Trace is about enjoying the outdoors responsibly, and it starts with you, right? Each individual can have a really big impact, whether it's just following the 7 principles, teaching it to others, that one person can make a change. So when you're, like I said, when you're outside, just make sure you're trying to employ these principles.
And leading by example, people see somebody else being responsible in the outdoors or cleaning something up, it's just going to cause like a whole trickle effect. So every little thing counts.
And then here are those resources. So they do have a number to call. They have an info email. So if you have any questions, if you're interested in getting one of these training courses in your area or bringing it to your group, you can just send them an email, or you can visit their website. And like we said, there's dozens of resources there, easy access for you, downloadables, just things online to play around with, whatever it might be. So for those of you who are still on, if you have any questions, perfect, we just posted, please type them into that box. We can answer anything you might need. And if something comes up later, again, these websites are great resources to go to. So Jonathan asks, has anyone had any experiences with lightweight alternatives for fires? And the easiest way is one of the camping stoves. So they can get a little pricey, but they're getting really lightweight. So if you're looking at like backpacking and try to minimize that weight you're bringing with you, there are some great camping stoves out there that are extremely lightweight. And they're really good alternatives to actually building a fire, which is going to have, like we said, one of those largest impacts on the environment around them.
Mm-hmm. Jet boils are like
that's what I have. Yeah, that's what I have personally.
Yeah, they're expensive, but
they're getting cheaper. I will say they're getting more common. My thing with them is you can't refill the fuel, so you have to keep buying new ones. But if that's the biggest issue I have with it, it's doing pretty well. And yeah, they're only a couple pounds, so very lightweight.
Yeah, and Whisper lights are also pretty good. They're fairly light.
Mm-hmm. Those are really easy to fix yourself, so they tend to last a lot longer.
They last a super long time, and you can refill the fuel bottle, which is nice.
But yeah, the alternative of using a stove to a campfire is always preferred with Leave No Trace.
Yeah, and more efficient overall.
Yeah. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, that email or the website has a lot of materials that you can go check out. But thank you for listening today, and hopefully you can start using these principles when you go out and enjoy the environment. We really appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.